Hello everyone and welcome back to Speaking Spurs. Me, Kieran, talking all things Tottenham. And we're talking the 3-0 win in the North London derby. That's right, smashing the Arsenal, putting the pressure on them. I'm not going to get carried away and do the whole North London is ours. We're going to finish in the top four. Let's not get carried away because it's not in our hands. But we stopped them from gaining guaranteed top four football in our stadium, which was the most important thing. 2 goals from Harry Kane, 1 from Son. Controversy throughout the game, hissy fits from Arteta, craziness from Rob Holden, a moment in the box. Was it a penalty? Wasn't it a penalty? That's what we're going to discuss. So, welcome to the channel if you are a newcomer. If not, you know the drill. First little bit. If you haven't subscribed to the channel already, please do so because it helps the channel grow. Support it with a like and please leave your comments below. Interact with one another. Spurs family. So, now that's out of the way, let's get into the best part of it. So let's talk about the game itself. The biggest news to come out, obviously, before the game, Romero injured. Instant panic stations, loads of fans on Facebook. I saw Twitter, Instagram. Oh, no Sanchez, no Romero, we're doomed, it's all over. Let's not forget, the whole time Romero was injured, I'm getting all my names wrong. Davinson Sanchez had done a stand-up job. He'd been absolutely fine. He had the odd shaky moment, but nothing that really cost us. He was actually playing some of the best football he'd played for Spurs since he's been with us. And then obviously Romero comes back and he's just a different class of defender. So he naturally slotted back in and it's limited Sanchez massively. He's been restricted to basically coming on with minutes to go, just to shore up the defence to stop a team from getting through when maybe we've only got a 1-goal advantage. But it was fine. He came in, he did his job. We got a victory. Defence got a clean sheet. So stop hating on some of these other players. Like loads of people were hating on Eric Dyer last season. Ben Davies has had a pretty torrid time from the fans ever since he's been at Spurs. Arguably, this has been his best ever season in a Tottenham shirt. So, they're not bad players. They've just had some iffy moments or been in the wrong system, played next to the wrong player, not been given enough game time or played out of position. Ben Davies, not a natural left back really, better as a left-sided centre-back, said it many times, playing his best football. Arguably, possibly man of the match against Liverpool. He had another good game this game. So, the game itself. Penalty. Was it or wasn't it? Lots of talk. If any of you listen to TalkSport Radio, which I do quite a lot, I was listening to it on the way to work, and Arsenal fans were talking about how the refereeing decisions ruined the game. Arteta also alluded to the fact that the referee completely affected the game and, the decisions were incorrect. So for the penalty, let's clear that one up first. In my opinion, not just because I'm a Spurs fan, in my opinion, after watching replays, penalty. I'm sitting at home watching it at TV with my dad. Couldn't get to the stadium. It was almost impossible to get tickets, and I wouldn't have got there anyway because of finishing work late. But when the whistle was first blown and he gave a penalty, I was a bit confused as to what had happened. I was like, was there a handball in there? Was there a foul? Or initially, I wasn't sure he was given a penalty. I heard the whistle go and I was like, is he given an offside? Was there a foul on someone? So in full fast time, the angle that we were looking at, the viewer, I didn't really get what was going on. Then they started to show the replays. The first replay they showed, I was still a little bit confused. I said to me, Dad, I don't get why they've given a penalty yet. It wasn't until they showed the angle that the referee saw. To me, I was like, oh, God, yeah, that's a penalty. Now, there's lots of people out there debating that it wasn't. And I hope if some Arsenal fans actually see this, they can understand the logic why this was a penalty. So, if the ball at the time of the foul was here, above the players, in eye line, I can kind of understand why it wouldn't be given. Eyes on the ball, completely accidental, only going for the ball. It wasn't that case at all. The ball was over there. The foul was over here. The player, facing that way, knows exactly what he was doing, jumped into Sonny, and the thing that actually made it look worse afterwards is the fact that as Sonny then gets moved, another player then clatters into him, so he gets hit double time. And, of course, he may have overplayed it a little bit once he was shoved, but that's what footballers do. Because if you don't, you sometimes don't get the foul when it is actually a foul. The amount of times I saw Danny Rose bursting down the left-hand side in a Spurs shirt and he would get chopped down or there'd be a late challenge and he'd just get up and carry on going and we wouldn't score from it. It was never brought back for a foul, ever. Because he got on with it, it wasn't giving us a foul. So people can moan all they want about players going down maybe too easy, but sometimes if they don't go down at all, they don't even get the foul. So, you've got to do what you're going to do. So in my opinion, because the ball was over there and not here, eyes were not on the ball, it has to be a foul. It's a clear attempt that I know what I'm doing. In that position, the ball comes out to Sonny. He's going to at least get the ball on target from the distance of where he was from goal. Penalty. Harry Kane steps up. Had no doubt in my mind that was going in the back of the net, as I'm sure many Spurs fans did. I wasn't even remotely nervous, in front of the home fans. He'd put every penalty the same way so far this season that he scored. So it was interesting to see what he was going to do, whether Ramsdale was going to pick up on it, because obviously he takes penalties against him when they're in the England squad. No, he didn't. Harry Kane goes the other way, and when you watch it back in slow motion, Ramsdale is diving whilst looking at the ball, thinking, ugh, he had to go the other way. But he scored like over 20 penalties in a row now. That was over like number 22 or 23 in a row. That's a pretty frightening stat. Harry Kane, the man that just breaks all records, apart from trophies, he is now the leading all-time scorer against Arsenal in the Premier League, overtaking Wayne Rooney. So yes, another record for him to hold. The guy just breaks records for fun. So that was that. Then let's talk about Rob Holden, another one the Arsenal fans are moaning about. He shouldn't have been sent off. Right, the fact is, first and second fouls that he made on Sonny could have been given as yellow cards. The reason they weren't given as yellow cards is probably because the referee was trying to keep the game flowing. He didn't want to make any rash decisions early. It's a North London derby. I think if it wasn't a North London derby, one of those two first challenges on Son would have been given as a yellow card. The one where Sonny goes down and he takes a kick to the back when Holden's clearly not going to get the ball because Son's body is in the way. They also end up on the floor. Sonny did actually take a disliking to it. I saw him almost throw an elbow. He started to, so he's very lucky in that situation, because I said to my dad, if Sonny's going to get frustrated with Holden here, he's going to get himself booked. I was worried about that. There was two possibilities for him to get the yellow card. The third time, when he was pulling him back, and it was actually the tamest of all three, that got him the booking. And I think Arsenal fans are moaning because they're like, that shouldn't have been a booking. That, as an isolated incident, no, shouldn't be a booking. But the fact is, in a very short space of time, like in 20 minutes, that's his third foul against Sonny. And I think in the back of the mind, the referee knows he should have booked him for one of the ones before it. So, for that reason, he was booked. And then 7 minutes later, or whatever it was, ball's played, Sonny could be through on goal. Rob Holding, arm up, bang. Now, I don't think it was intentional to be in his face. What I actually think is he was trying to stand firm. I'm the defender. You ain't getting past me. I'm being strong. Put his arm out, as a lot of defenders do. It's a typical challenge from a defender, but normally it's a slightly outstretched arm. They use the forearm because it's a strong, sturdy way of defending. I do it myself in games. But the fact is, the ball is going through this way. Holding does this, but then pushes in. It's not like he's trying to guide him out the way. He makes a movement towards Sonny, and when he connects, he pushes the arm through. That's the reason that was given as a second yellow, and then he's off. Also, the fact that if Sonny gets past him, he's through on goal. I know he's a distance from goal, but still, he's through on goal nonetheless. So there were people discussing whether it would have been a straight red. I'm not actually sure it would have been, just because there was other defenders level with play, so there's every opportunity to get back. Not that they would have, because Son's rapid, but there was still a lot of work to be done before the goal. So I don't care whether it could have been a straight red. The fact is, second yellow, it had to happen. The referee's mind was made up by Rob Holding, and off he goes. Then Arteta makes a mistake. Most managers in that situation, you need to make a defensive substitution. He doesn't do it. We get a corner, ball swung in, and we score from it. So we'll just quickly talk about what Arteta should have done. Ben White, back from injury. Should have put him on. He needs some match minutes. Didn't put him on, cost him. Or The guy that he brought up in here, Tavares, could have brought him on earlier. No, they don't. They wait. They're figuring out what to do. They've got, like, Ben White was actually been out to warm up, and he had one of the liquid energy gels. So he was ready to go. And they still decide not to do him because they're faffing about talking. And in that moment, one of the best strikers in world football is left unmarked in the box. This is crazy. So I can't remember who it was. It was Sonny's corner. The flick on was Bentancur. But I think the player near the back that was also near Harry Kane, I think it might have been Højbjerg, he was being marked. Kane was just a couple of yards behind him. And all he does, the corner's played in, he makes a slow movement through, he's still not picked up, and Nketiah is kind of marking around the back post area, but he's not tight on it. Bentancur flicks it on, Harry Kane then makes a beeline for it, diving header, and Nketiah was never going to beat him to it. 2-0. So Arteta's poor indecision was what cost them that goal. So there you are, we go in 2-0 up. They're down to 10 men. It could not be going better. Spurs fans, absolutely mental. I should have mentioned it at the beginning. It was absolutely crazy. Watching it at home, we couldn't actually hear the commentary to start with. I thought my parents had done something to the TV. You know, you can play about with the sound settings. You can have like standard, cinema, like a music setting. I thought they'd done that because all I could hear was the crowd and the commentary was coming through really quiet. And then I was actually speaking to somebody at work the following day whose boyfriend is an Arsenal fan, so unlucky. And they were saying they had the same problem. They couldn't figure out what was going on. What it was is their fans were so loud in the stadium, it just deafened out the commentary. As the game went on, you'd actually hear that the commentary became a bit clearer. So I think the audio team played about with it and managed to bring the levels up or match them a bit closer. Gary Neville himself, who spent his career at Manchester United, Old Trafford, we're talking about one of the biggest teams in world football, said it's the best atmosphere he's ever seen at a Premier League game in a stadium. It was just electric. The fans were deafening from start to finish, even when we were under the cosh at the beginning, because let's face it, Arsenal did start the brighter of the teams. We know this happens against us. We always take a bit of time to get in our groove. It's one of my biggest complaints that we don't go straight for the jugular from the off. We just take too long to settle into games, and it's cost us a few times, especially over the last few seasons. But, you know, fans, incredible. So anyone that was there, like, massive, massive thanks for the part that you played in boosting the team. But let's talk second half. You think that Arsenal are going to come out reorganised, probably going to have to go for it a bit. Doesn't happen. You know, we're a couple of minutes into the second half. Boom, Sonny pops up with a goal. 3-0. Sonny had to get himself on the score sheet, didn't he? Bearing in mind that now puts him one goal behind Mo Salah for the Golden Boot. And you'll see, he said, like, last week against Liverpool, the Golden Boot doesn't mean anything to him. He just wants Tottenham to finish in the top four, finish strongly. When he got substituted, like, I've seen Son upset a couple of times. Not many. He's mostly smiling. He threw a right hissy fit. Walking on the off the pitch like, oh, he looked like he was going to cry. He's on the bench. Galini's got his arm around him and he's still proper sulking, pointing at stuff that's happening on the pitch. Conte then had to console him after the match. He comes up to him, puts his arm around him. Everything's okay. Look, Sonny has to understand, as much as we'd love him to win the Golden Boot, it is way more important that we win the game against Burnley and Norwich. So Burnley being our bogey team. Luckily, it's a home game. Norwich obviously confirmed relegated, so the game doesn't really mean anything for them, although it's in front of their home fans, so I'd assume they'd want to go out on a high. But, you know, if we got enough players fit and we don't get too many injuries against Burnley, we should have more than enough to topple them. So yeah, second half, obviously we're 3-0 up. Arsenal had a couple of half chances. Odegaard had a couple of tame efforts that we saw his disappointment in his face, like the poor connections. But yeah, it was just one of those days where nobody in an Arsenal shirt could really grab the game by the scruff of the neck and get it going. You could tell the frustration as the game was going on. Xhaka got his almost compulsory yellow card in a game because he just can't keep his head cool. The guy's just so hot-headed. But yeah, you know, a couple of substitutions, a little run out for Moore and Bergwijn. So let's talk about the players, right? Player ratings. Hugo Lloris in goal. Comes away with a 7. He had some nervy moments with his feet early on, but he made a big save late in the first half from Nketiah. But apart from that, had little else to do. Odegaard pretty much put his shots right at him, made it very easy. So comfortable for him, a 7. Davinson Sanchez, he comes back into the squad. I've given him a 7. Replaced Romero, and there were some early moments where he looked rusty, but I knew that was going to be the case. It's not that he's a bad player. He's not played much football at all. So passing was a bit rusty at times. Was a bit... What's the word? It was almost lazy at times with the ball and got pressed upon. But that's just down to match sharpness. But composed himself after that. He played a big part in keeping 10-man Arsenal away. So 7. Eric Dyer, he gets an 8. He made some big challenges, defended well, and was dominant before and after, really, the sending off. Ben Davies, he gets an 8. He made a crunching tackle early on, and that set the tone. He was unlucky to get a yellow card a little bit later when he actually seemed to be fouled just before that. But, mopped up everything down his side before coming off with 9 minutes to go. It's a bit strange to see him come off, but actually it was quite nice because he got a lovely, lovely round of applause from the Spurs faithful. Something he's not been able to get this season because he stays on. And he's been so important to where we are within our season. But yeah, talking about yellow cards, he got yellow carded early in the game, kept his cool throughout, defended well, and stayed on the pitch. So Rob Holden, take note, that's how it's done. Emerson Royale, he gets a 7. Defended well, he got in some good attacking positions. He should have scored a couple of goals, actually. Once with a volley that he sent over, and then at the back post... No, that was... he sent the volley over at the back post, and then the other with a header that was saved by Ramsdale. So, although he lacks a bit in his attacking threat, he gets in good positions. So I'm sure the more he practices, the better he's going to get. And I think... he's not a traditional right wing back, but I think we're seeing signs now maybe he can actually be converted, and I'm sure they'll do a lot of crossing training with him, finishing training. So who knows? Give him another couple of seasons at Spurs, he might be all right. We just need someone to challenge him, and whether that man's going to be Doherty next season or not, who knows? On the other side, Sessegnon, he comes away with a 7. A good cross late in the first half for Emerson. He also set up Son for a chance in the second half. He pressed really well up and down the left flank. And, he just looks at home in that position. So not an outstanding performance, but he certainly did enough to keep Arsenal at bay. He did his job well. In the middle, Højbjerg, he gets an 8. He he won some big tackles to get us on the front foot. And he was a constant thorn in their side of the Arsenal midfield. I thought he played really well. Bentancur, he gets a 7. He leapt very well to get the header for the assist for Kane's goal from Sonny's corner. Battled away in the centre of the pitch in the first half, and he was solid enough in the second half. Kulusevski, he only gets a 6 from me. He had some nice moments, but I felt like he was lacking a bit of impact throughout the game. It was one of his quieter games, but still did well. Harry Kane, added to his Derby collection of goals. He's now the all-time goal scorer against Arsenal in the Premier League, overtaking Wayne Rooney. So another record that Harry Kane has got. How many more of these random records he's going to break? Guy just needs a trophy now, deserves one. Gets his penalty, sending Ramsdale the wrong way, and then headed home for the second 8 minutes before the break. It was then his run into the Arsenal box in the opening minutes of the second half that actually saw him brought down, and the ball then broke through to Sonny for him to fire home coolly and calmly. And then Sonny himself, he comes away with an 8. He was wound up by Holden's constant fouling early on, and as I said, I think he almost went for an elbow himself. Luckily, didn't connect, wasn't picked up. But he kept battling, kept getting himself in good positions. And actually, what was interesting about Son's performance is a lot of people say that if you can stop Harry Kane receiving the ball deep, you've basically stopped Tottenham. Because we rely on Kane to come in deep and to release the ball for Sonny. And I actually thought Arsenal were doing really well at stopping those balls into Kane. They kept him fairly quiet. El Neni was almost sitting just in front of the defence. So you had a defender and El Neni with Kane kind of in the middle of the two. They marshalled him really well to stop him getting the ball a lot. But what actually happened instead? Sonny kept coming deep. The amount of balls that were fired into his feet, and he would then hold it up, and Holden would foul him. He'd be all over him. But yeah, he was getting frustrated by it. Kept his cool in the end. He was the one that was obviously knocked over for the penalty. He also sent in the corner for the second goal, and then fired home himself collectively inside the box, and then was obviously furious when he came off late on, probably because he felt like he could have got more goals, but I actually think he wasn't going to. It was one of those games, once we were 3-0 up, it was a bit like a training session. I was getting a bit frustrated watching it. It become quite boring, but I knew it's what we had to do, because as much as I would have loved to see us go on and score loads and loads of goals, we couldn't afford to do it, because you don't want players to burn their energy levels out knowing that we've got a massive game against Burnley coming up on Sunday, and Arsenal obviously don't play till the Monday, which is really frustrating. So now let's talk about the subs. Lucas Moura, a 5. He replaced Kulusevski, but other than a few runs, he didn't add much to the game. Bergwijn also a 5, the same as Lucas really, didn't add too much when he came on. And then Joe Rodon randomly got to make an appearance. He was the one that replaced Davies, just to get... That was his first Premier League minutes actually under Conte. And he was ready a lot earlier, but they had to wait 5 minutes for the ball to go out of play. So incredible things. Look, 3-0 against the Arsenal. First time they've played in the North London derby with a crowd at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and we did it justice. Daniel Levy did his bit, put his hand in his back pocket and gave us the plastic bags that are recyclable, by the way. Gave us those to have that massive Dare Dream do. And look, the things you can do with a plastic bag is incredible, because that looked sensational. Some of the photos that people have taken and put up with like pro modes on their cameras, it's incredible. So yeah, really, really proud of the boys, proud of the fans. Man of the match for me is the fans. Like, the players battled away hard, but without the fans, I just don't know how we'd have got over the line. In that game, it probably would have ended up being a draw, knowing our luck. But massive, massive, massive. Obviously, we've got Burnley at home, then Norwich away. I do think we'll pick up the maximum 6 points from that. Arsenal obviously go to Newcastle on the Monday, so it's probably one of the only times we're actually going to watch a game with Arsenal in that we are not. We're all going to be sitting there praying that Newcastle can do their job. A few things. Newcastle's last home game of the season, so they're going to want to impress their fans. Obviously, they had a really disappointing result against Manchester City where they got smashed, so they've got something to make up for. And then Arsenal have their injuries, and Holden suspended. So, yeah, Holden suspended. Gabriel injured, and then Ben White got no minutes in the last game, so he's going to have no match sharpness, although he's been rested quite well. Not going to have that match sharpness, so it looks like they're going to have to tweak their defence, where we could actually see Tomiyasu come into centre-back and then Xhaka at right-back or something like that. I don't know what it's going to be, but, decisions could really, really cost them now, and we need to be ready to take a leap. So that's it for the video today. The context of the video. What I did want to say is, I know I said I was going to put a video up Wednesday, and I was partway through the video, and I said there was that table that I'd made. I was partway through the video, and then Leeds did it again. So they had a man sent off after 27 minutes against Arsenal. And then against Chelsea, had a man sent off after 24 minutes, which was really frustrating, because I was partway through doing that, and the table was talking about all the scenarios of what points we needed and scenarios to finish in what position. So that table quickly become null and void. The second that man was sent off, I was like, well, Chelsea are going to win this game, so just stop the video. But what I've done, I've adjusted the table to show you what we need from the last 2 games with the certain scenarios from other teams. So I'll quickly pop that up now so you can have a look at it. But I will do a little video tomorrow just talking through that before our game kicks off. So hopefully I'll do that one in the morning. It'll be up before our afternoon kickoff, so we can have a little look at that, talk about what we need and what we don't need from the other teams. There's still a possibility we could finish above Chelsea, but it's not going to happen really. It's impossible. One of them is we can overtake them on goal difference if we score a ridiculous amount of goals in our last 2 games and they don't score any. So yeah, thanks for sticking around. I hope you enjoyed that one. I've been Kieran from Speaking Spurs. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and most importantly, leave your comments below. And until tomorrow, come on you Spurs.